Greetings. We continue today with part 3 of Surveillance Until Retirement. We recommended you review Ephesians 6:10 through 20. It admonishes us to take the whole armor of God. Having received it, verse 10 admonishes us to use the whole armor of God. 1, to take a stand, a defensive position against the enemy in verse 14. To stand in truth, a girdle of truth about your loins or your waist, according to verse 14. 3, to guard your heart with the breastplate of righteousness in verse 14. 4, to stand on gospel truth, feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace in verse 15. 5, to deflect the attack from the enemy with the shield of faith in verse 16. 6, to keep your head protected by the helmet of salvation in verse 17, the assurance that we're going to heaven after we die. 7, to go on attack with the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God in verse 17. 8, praying, that is a request for divine intervention and help in the conflict in verse 18. This is the best method to avoid being taken captive or being killed by our great enemy. Take note of the twice stated principles from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 22:3 says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Proverbs 27:12, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. Now this word rendered prudent here often has a negative connotation. However, it is used positively in regard to surveillance against the enemy and his traps. Proverbs 14:8 says, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Proverbs 14:15, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. Verse 18 of the same chapter, the simple inherit folly, but the prudent are crowned with knowledge. So I ask, how many times do we fail to watch and to pray that we enter not into temptation as Jesus instructed in Matthew 26:41? Because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. You see, every child of God, every day, every moment of each day, they're on constant surveillance by the devil, who is looking for the most opportune time to get permission to attack. There's a passage in 2 Samuel chapter 22, which is repeated in Psalm 18. And although it's lengthy, we'll start it today and continue tomorrow. We'll read it as its instruction and illustration of what Peter is saying here in this chapter. So Psalm 18 verse 1 inscription says, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, the servant of the Lord, who spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul. And he said, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. I will call upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies.